Well, back at one of our favorite places, Parker Rooftop. Here, we're in the lovely lounge. Come check this great place out. Open 7 days a week. Hey, it's her first time on our show, and we're very happy to have this woman on. She's a prominent criminal defense lawyer. She appears on a lot of shows when key issues need to be discussed. It's Kyla Lee. Welcome to the show for the first time.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are quite welcome. I talked to you the other day when we literally ran into each other at a restaurant. I said, I'd love to have you on to talk about issues that can be educational to our viewers. And you said, Jim, one of the first ones I'd like to talk about, we've just come through the busy holiday season. It's a new year, but basically you're going to tell our viewers steps to take without being belligerent or disrespectful, but what you can do when you are pulled over.
Yes.
You pick it up from there.
Okay. I mean, the first thing you need to do when you're pulled over is remember not to be rude or belligerent.
Right.
Even if you don't agree with the reason that you're pulled over, you don't want to fight back with the officer.
Right.
And there's a couple reasons for that. First is you start to fight back, you might make admissions that could be used against you later.
Right.
Anything you say can and will be used against you. And the second reason is police are more likely to let you off with a warning if you are polite and cooperative. You should always have your driver's license and insurance documents ready and in hand. So as soon as you pull over, get those out before the officer reaches your window so you can hand them to the officer right away.
And what does it mean? Like you see the movies and the TV shows all the time where you get pulled over and someone says, I'm refusing to say anything. Is that not really the way to go?
That is the way to go,
oh, it is the way,
subject to some exceptions.
Okay,
in
right.
BC, you are required to say some things under the law. So you have to state your name, you have to state your address, and the name and address of the registered owner of the vehicle. But beyond that, don't say anything. You can be cooperative while being silent. And
so things like, please step out of the car, all that stuff, you are expected to cooperate.
Yes.
Until a point where you don't feel comfortable, or?
Until a point where you're allowed to go, essentially. If the police ask you to get out of the vehicle, you have to get out of the vehicle. They might not be lawfully making that request,
right?
But you shouldn't be trying to adjudicate that in the moment. You should comply with the request and then argue about its legality later.
And one of the things you mentioned to me is the difference between, I think the wording you gave me was to cooperate with the police as opposed to like something you just said a second ago, incriminating yourself.
Yes.
Walk us through that.
There's a big difference between cooperating, which is complying with your legal obligations and following the directions of an officer, and volunteering information against yourself. So if you're asked to do a breathalyzer, you have to do it. If you're asked to exit the vehicle, you have to do it. If you're asked to state your name and address, you have to do it. But if they ask you, do you know how fast you were going? Do you know why I pulled you over?
Right.
Where are you coming from? Those things are incriminating questions, and you don't want to answer those.
And you just mentioned about being pulled over. When can you be pulled over? I mean, I feel we're not by any means condoning drinking and driving. I know a friend of mine got pulled over not long ago, not a drop in him, sober as a judge, but he had that thing like, what, why?
You can be pulled over at random anytime in Canada. Essentially, the law allows the police, if you're in a moving vehicle, to stop you randomly to check your sobriety, to check that you have insurance, a driver's license, and the vehicle's mechanically fit to be on the road.
And is it often, I don't know, I don't have the stats, maybe you would know this, but how often is it somebody being pulled over and it's for a legitimate reason, and they don't know they're being pulled over because a light is out or something's dangling that you don't know about?
Oh, that happened to me recently.
Did it really? Yeah.
Yeah, I completely missed a sign. I turned contrary to a sign and I got pulled over, and I had no idea until the officer walked up and told me why I was stopped.
Interesting. And is that an automatic ticket or most time a warning?
I mean, I got a warning.
Okay, that's fair enough, yeah.
But I could have got a ticket for sure.
You talked earlier, or I did, and we were talking on the phone the other day about just that as I said, we've just come through the busy season with being, holidays. I mean, summer's also a huge time for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's two sort of big counterattack seasons where there's extra funding given to police to set up roadblocks and investigate sobriety. So in the holidays, they'll do the Light Up the Province campaign, and in the summers, they'll do their summer counterattacks. You'll see roadblocks often by beaches and places that have nice outdoor patios and areas where people are going to be outside and likely consuming alcohol.
Do most people have a sense, or do they have maybe a false idea of what they can drink? I often hear that, 2 beer rule or 2 glass of wine rule, but it's not as simple as that, is it?
It's not as simple as that. We often hear, 1 drink per hour, and that's great for your first 2 drinks, assuming you are a male and assuming you weigh 150 pounds or more.
Right, yeah.
But if you're not a man, if you're, if you're drinking stronger drinks or bigger drinks, then that can change everything. So because we have such a variety now in what we can drink and the different beverage options available, you can't come up with a hard and fast rule. The only real rule that you should follow is don't drink anything and get behind the wheel.
Yeah, of course, especially with there's so many options nowadays for transportation. One of the things, if you're on social media, you see every day, and that is people pulling their phones out as soon as they're pulled over. What is your advice on that? Because every time I see a clip, it's usually antagonistic, or they're also they think they're protecting themselves.
I love that the people who post it online are always the people who come off terribly in the videos.
Yeah, that's right.
But you can record the police. You have the right to record the police at any point, as long as you're not interfering in the investigation. So I recommend taking your phone out, start a recording, put it in your pocket if you have one, or prop it somewhere in the vehicle where it can record the interaction, but you're not shoving it in the officer's face and being antagonistic, because that's only going to escalate a situation to a place it might not otherwise go.
But you're legally allowed.
Yes.
Okay, then the follow-up on that is, when are the cops legally allowed to take your phone?
They can take your phone if they are arresting you, so they can seize it incident to an arrest. They can take your phone sometimes for investigative purposes, and they can take your phone if it's an officer safety issue, which often happens. They get worried you're going to call somebody to come cause problems, so they'll take your phone to protect themselves.
Got to putting you on the spot here, and I don't mean to make light of it, but as I said, I see you on TV quite often, including this show. What is the common explanation? Because you have a lot of people come to you, you're well known. Is there a common explanation that percentage-wise outruns the other ones in terms of why people, they come to you and say, here's what's happened?
Well, for speeding tickets, I think the most common one I hear is I had to go to the bathroom really badly, which is so common that no officer is going to believe it.
Good point, yeah.
And then for the drinking, it's often that they thought they were fine. They felt fine. They've had that amount before. Their friend had the same as them, and they went through and they were fine. That's the really common one that I hear.
And again, you learn your lessons, but are most cases like that given a warning, even if it gets to the court stage?
No, so in BC we have the 90-day immediate roadside prohibition scheme. So if you blow a fail in a roadside breathalyzer, automatically you lose your license for 90 days right there on the spot. Your car's impounded for 30 days, and you've only got 7 days to fight it. So it's a pretty intense system. Yeah.
Remind our viewers, what is the legal limit?
It's 0.05 for administrative license suspensions and 0.08 for the criminal code.
Wow, that's gives you an idea how little you can drink, thinking you're fine. Yeah, I know how many people you probably heard thought they were fine, but that doesn't mean they're not going to legally blow over the limit. So, no. Before we wrap up, give our viewers a little background on you. How do you actually get into this specific area of law?
I think I kind of fell into it by accident.
Okay.
I went to law school wanting to work in Aboriginal law, and while I was in law school, I realized I'd be working on like one case my entire career, and I thought that would be boring.
Sure.
But I thought criminal law was interesting, and I got hired at a firm that dealt primarily with driving offenses, and I just loved it. I loved like dealing with the police. I like arguing people's rights have been violated, and I get to do that every single day. So.
You're a young person, you probably have a sense of the history of this part of criminal law. Are things better or worse now for drivers?
Worse.
Yeah?
Yes. There were significant amendments made to the criminal code in December 2018 that took away a lot of rights for people who are challenging impaired driving allegations. And then we have our administrative license suspension program in BC that also, is guilty until you prove yourself innocent, which can be very hard to do.
Wow. Where can people find out more about you?
They can find me on TikTok, or they can check out my website, kylalee.ca.
Excellent. Hey, it's the first, I hope, of many appearances this year to educate our viewers on a wide array of topics. It is your first appearance. Thanks for joining us, Kyla, on Our City Tonight.